That's better. It's not really better. Eye drops make things better. I always have this fear that I've grabbed the wrong bottle and put super glue in my eyes instead of eye drops.
Anything besides super glue would have maybe sounded sort of like a reasonable fear.
I always feel like super glue bottles and eye drop bottles look a bit similar to me.
But you would know immediately if it was super glue.
You just open it up. You're not really paying attention.
You'd know as you're squeezing it. You'd like see it like trailing towards your eye slowly if it were super glue.
And you'd just be like, God damn it, this is going to suck.
It looks like I can't get out of the way as it's slowly moving towards your eye. I'm fucked. Just let it happen.
Super glue goes out pretty fast sometimes.
I'm blind now. Aw, shucks.
He walked out in the gray light and stood, and he saw for a brief moment the absolute truth of the world. The cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth. Darkness implacable. The blind dogs of the sun in their running. The crushing black vacuum of the universe. And somewhere 200 animals trembling like ground foxes in their cover. Borrowed time and borrowed world and borrowed eyes with which to sorrow it.
And lo, for the earth was empty of form, and void, and darkness was all over the face of the deep, and we said, look at that fucker dance.
Welcome to Heat Death of the Universe. We are blasting sound waves at you from Seoul, South Korea. It's 10:45 p.m., April Fool's Day. Shit, we should have thought of something clever to do for that.
Fuck
And
that.
we didn't. Yeah, fuck that. So today is a continuation, sort of. We'll call it a spiritual sequel to the last episode. Mainly because we planned on doing both topics in one episode, but we go too long sometimes. I mean, I definitely do.
Are a bit long at times, and we thought we would give your dear listener a break. Just that time, dear listener, would you get a break?
I think if we had just tried to plow through and do with the plan, it would have been like 4 hours even after cutting down everything back possibly could. So it's good that we didn't do that.
Listener would have supported 4 hours. Listener is always there, listening. Thank you, listener.
I mean,
one day, listener, I'll give you a name once you tell me your name.
I was going to say, the listener, dear listener, is very much an abstraction for the most part. In any case,
since you were paying attention in the last episode, you know the topic we're going to talk about. So I say we get right into it.
Yeah, we don't need any more of this preamble. Let's just get in it.
So the way they started was as America's leading charitable organization.
You're really not going to say who. Keep going.
In support of the shooting sports.
Who could it be?
I have no clue. What's a shooting sport?
What's it called? Discus? Wait, that's the thing where you throw the disc.
You would think it was about this, but it's actually about words. It's the organization that is in support of shooting off at the mouth, which is one of my favorite things to do. No, that's not true.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, I don't follow.
You lost me, didn't you?
I thought you were thinking that you asked me what a shooting sport was.
I did, and then I said it's an organization about shooting off from the mouth. Yeah, so they were founded in 1871. Did you know that? 2 Civil War vets.
Just 2 guys.
Yep. They were going to promote and encourage shooting in sports, shooting rifles.
That sounds very quaint.
Yeah, I mean, I think they actually started off with like fairly modest roots because they realized that a lot of young Union soldiers didn't know how to aim, and they thought, what would help these young Union soldiers beat the Confederates? Teaching them how to aim at a young age.
So they were from the northern territories?
Yeah, it started in the north.
Okay. Right there, that's a strike against like sort of liberal stereotypes of NRA members.
It's weird, right?
At least back in the history.
It's weird that there's that flip because the NRA definitely started in the north, and it started as like sort of like a union-led thing. A union, not the union, not
right.
Not the unions that we usually talk about. The union. Oh, wow. So they go on as a small club for a while. Then in 1934, that's when the NRA first got into politics. It's also when the National Firearms Act was enacted. It was basically the first like major firearms act in America, but it put a $200 tax on machine guns, sawed-off shotguns, and silencers.
Unreasonable.
Do you know why?
Infringing. Why? Why did they do that?
A lot of people in Chicago were getting mowed down by Tommy guns.
Ah, that makes sense.
It was a problem. Now, that $200 tax on machine guns seems like a lot, and it was a lot, but it hasn't increased in 87 years.
Is it a sales tax?
Yeah. Like a sales tax.
Okay. So it's hitting the individual consumer. It's not like some I don't know, like retailer tax or something.
It's not a retailer. Well, I think the retailer also pays the tax.
Okay.
And
that does seem like a lot of...
the retailer pays the tax, the consumer pays the tax back to the retailer.
So that's still on the books now?
Yeah, it's still in the books now. It hasn't increased in 87 years.
So that means any gun you buy legally is going to be more than $200?
No. Machine guns.
Oh, right.
Sawed-off
Okay.
shotguns. And silencers.
Right.
So...
And the tax has stayed the same, you said, right?
Yeah. In 1934, the NRA, they were actually kind of sane at the time. Like, their president was Carl Telford, and he was an Olympic gold medalist rifle shooter. But he had said, "I've never believed in a general practice of carrying weapons. I think it should be sharply restricted and only under licenses." And I think
what a communist.
I think that's the last time the NRA ever suggested having licenses for guns, but
Or just like someone so high up in the organization saying, "I don't believe in the general practice of carrying weapons." I mean, that's radically opposed to anything they've looked like since then, probably, right?
Yeah, and the NRA supported this National Firearms Act. They wanted it. So 1938 rolls around, and we get our second big Firearms Act, which is the Federal Firearms Act. And the law, it required manufacturers, importers, and dealers to obtain a federal firearms license to keep customer records. It also prohibited sales to those indicted or convicted of crimes of violence and to fugitives from justice. It had the support of the NRA. So this is where it becomes like very difficult for fugitives and I guess not fugitives, but people.
Convicts.
Convicts. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking. Felons. This is where it becomes hard for felons, right, to buy guns. Also, it's when they really start to keep licenses of like who they've sold guns to, which if you know anything about gun selling, is not all that accurate because there's never really been that for secondhand gun sales so much.
Right. Yeah. Like I was thinking just back to the very beginning part, like they had this modest message of like, well, we want to encourage the sport of shooting and stuff. But like there was not even like the concept of like, keep your hands off our guns, government, as far as I know.
No, there wasn't at this time. I mean,
especially back in 1870. But anyway.
Even in 1938. If anything, I think a lot of people would prefer to not have so many guns in their lives. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I get a feeling, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's only like sort of crazy gun nut culture, so to speak, is like only gone like on like the increase, on the upswing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that like as the trenches started to dig in, as far as like this big divide between Americans, or more like media-sized, like Democrat versus Republican thing, it's just another like gun ownership became like another fucking pin to put in your jacket. To be like, I'm on this side of the fence, for better or worse. So 1967 rolls around as we go through the time machine. And 1967 is when we get the Mulford Act. You know the Mulford Act, right?
I do. It's about, it's the only time, at least since, or it's the last time, I guess?
It's the very last time the NRA has supported gun control. Because they supported the Federal Firearms Act and the National Firearms Act.
And there's a different variable this time. It's not just restricting felons from getting guns, but who does it seem to target?
Well, I mean, it was the Mulford Act, which banned the open carry of firearms after armed Black Panthers began patrolling city streets to protect against police brutality.
Ooh, curiouser and curiouser.
I get it. I mean, because you wouldn't want people patrolling the streets with guns.
Blue Lives Matter, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me, like,
And,
the motivations there are, at the very least, just, like, right-wing politics, and, like, then I think it's not crazy to say there's probably some racism motivating that as well.
Oh, no, it's not crazy at all. This is also around the time that their current leader starts to get his foot in the door of the NRA, which is Wayne LaPierre.
Ah, that's that fucking asshole. That name I recognize.
Yeah, he's
he was like
he's not top yet, but he started to infiltrate the organization, so to speak.
He is like the president of the NRA up until like
Now.
the 90s, maybe?
Now he's still.
Oh, he still is. Okay.
He's still running it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Oh, damn.
So, yeah, and this was also the first time the NRA endorsed a president, and they endorsed, America's best. Ronald Reagan, man.
Ronnie.
America's best.
Well, they didn't endorse him for president back then. I mean, they endorsed him for governor, right?
Yeah, they endorsed him for government. I see.
Or wait, like it's okay. It seems like they would endorse him in like 1980 when he was running for president, but it looks like the part of the reason they liked him was that he signed this law signed this bill or amendment or whatever act into law when he was governor of California. So this was like a state thing. Yeah, California.
Yeah, it was the Mulford Act. It was a state thing.
Yeah, I mean, that all checks out.
So, after 1967, the NRA becomes the NRA we know now. The one who's going to say no to any type of, like, gun control measures that's ever wanted in America. So
yeah, even, like, there should be a national, like, age age limit or something on who can buy firearms.
They do not want that.
Yeah, I was looking into that a little bit because I was really curious about the idea of like to sort of tie into the last episode. Like, of course, it ties in pretty well because there's a lot of guns in it. Doomsday preppers, but like there was one they showed this. They showed this one guy taking his family to the firing range, and they had like his 6-year-old kid shooting a handgun. It was fucking insane. And like he was wandering around holding a rifle, and they were trying to like show that they're like all about gun safety still, because they're like, keep it pointed down, buddy, and he's just like kind of like waving his arms around. It was just crazy. But anyway, what I found out was just that like there are different states that have different ages. That's, you know, some states you can buy a gun at like 16. I think in Illinois or Wisconsin it's like 21, which I'm sure people are pissed off about. I think it's Illinois.
Certain people are pissed off about that.
But then here's the kicker: 30 states have 0 laws, meaning like you could like gift a gun to your 6-year-old and like it's his legally.
Yeah, I remember,
or hers. Sorry, I shouldn't be so.
When my nephew like turned 7 or 8, I think 2 of his great uncles got him guns for Christmas.
And like so maybe even if it's like if you're really into the sport shooting and all and hunting and whatever, and you do that, it's like, okay, this is your gun, but like you're not gonna fire it until you're like older. But like, remember. I mean, I've seen all this crazy footage of like people having their little kids like 5 years old and stuff shooting guns. It's just insane that that's legal.
Yeah, no, it's completely insane.
Like you can't smoke cigarettes, you know, you can't drink alcohol. Okay, you would go to jail if you like were found to be like feeding your, I don't know, 8-year-old kid booze, right? Don't you think?
I think so. I mean, you would be reprimanded.
You would be in trouble, and especially if you were already like on some sort of thin ice or whatever.
Unless you're like, you know, Catholic and giving them a bit of wine on a holdover. Or whatever.
I mean, you know what I mean. Like if you're like getting your kid drunk or something, like,
sure,
they would be like, that's child abuse. But
definitely.
But then you can like put a fucking pistol in their hand, and it's like, yeah, there's no regulations whatsoever on that. It's not even like, sure, you can do it, but you got to follow the safety protocol. It's just like, no, go ahead. Like,
that's just teaching them how to be safe with a gun, Joshua.
Yeah, I can't imagine any accidents have happened because of that. Oh, yes, I can.
Never been any accidents with children and guns. You have to remember that this is God's world. And God wouldn't allow a child to make an accident with a gun. Any bad thing that's happened to a child with a gun, God planned that.
Oh, right. It wasn't an accident. God's just a vindictive bastard. I see.
Oh, that's what some people seem to think. I like to think that he's just trying to guide us to better times. Anywho. Let's leave 1967 behind.
Bye.
Let's go to 1968. There were some assassinations in 1968.
I've heard about those.
JFK, MLK, some riots.
Sorry, but like JFK is before that, but
Was
this
it?
is still, 63.
Oh, right.
I mean, I think you mean RFK was, I think, probably 68.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say, actually. It doesn't. There were some assassinations.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
I mean, there were just big political assassinations throughout the 60s, I guess you could say. And mostly just done by the fucking FBI, so.
Are you sure about that? The FBI has never done an assassination, nor has the CIA.
I think it's basically a fact that they killed MLK, but what do I know? I believe.
That is modern revisionist history created by Antifa.
Do you know how they tried to drive him to suicide? MLK?
The American government would never try to drive someone to suicide.
I mean, I guess that's for another episode, but like, it's pretty crazy shit if you haven't actually like heard about that.
I think I might have I've seen it referenced in TV somewhere.
It's wild stuff.
So 68 is when they're trying to get the Gun Control Act through, and this is the first time that they were pushing for like a national gun registry and licenses for all gun carriers.
So who was trying to? I mean, this would have been
the House and Senate.
Okay.
Because of the assassinations mainly, and thinking that maybe not everyone should have. At least there should be a national registry to make sure that everyone has a gun, or everyone that has a gun is on a registry and you can find them easily, etc., etc.
That's all that this this act was trying to do, was make a national registry and have licenses for all gun owners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have.
And that was just outright blocked by the NRA.
Outright blocked by the NRA. The NRA put everything they could into blocking it. The law, it did not pass in the form that they wanted. A law did end up passing because there was like enough public outcry at the time. But the law that did pass, it just barred sales of guns to the mentally ill, and it was the first law that put serial numbers on guns.
Okay.
Lyndon B., I guess, was a bit annoyed about it and said the voices that blocked these safeguards were not the voices of an aroused nation. They were the voices of a powerful gun lobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what Lyndon sounds like? What did Lyndon sound like?
He's a Texan, man. Total West Texan or something.
Okay, I'll do it again. The what? Texas. Here. The voices that... No, I don't have it. I don't have a fucking Texas accent.
Just say that you're riding a horse that's riding inside of a truck, remember?
Yeehaw! Those voices. No,
I also like that you call him Lyndon B. It sounds so like...
Lyndon B.
Like so many people say, like, we maybe say LBJ.
Lyndon B.
Lyndon B just sounds sort of like...
Lyndon B.
It's almost like a SoundCloud rapper name or something. I think it's cool. We should keep it going, keep
Lyndon
it alive. No more
it.
LBJ. He's just Lyndon B. So, yeah, I did see that quote before, and I kind of thought, like, was he really like passionate about gun control stuff? Because maybe just because he's a Texan, I have this stereotype in my mind of like, you know, like the Simpsons, like the oil tycoon in the Simpsons who just always shoots off like revolvers whenever he's happy. But anyway, like my one like sort of conspiratorial thought was like, he was behind the JFK assassination. So he gets to come out and say this stuff about like, it's a shame guns can't be controlled more. Anyway, that was just a dumb thought my dumb head had earlier. But should we keep time traveling?
Let's go to 1986. I'm alive now.
Me too. What's up? We're 3 years old.
I know, we're doing well. Happy time in my life. I think my parents were still married.
Happy time in my life too. Pre-consciousness, basically.
I think I was well fed and dressed mostly in clothes. Fuck, I don't know what I did when I was
What else would you be dressed in?
clothes. Cake.
I'm dressed mostly in clothes.
I dressed my face in cake during those years.
I see.
But the NRA was trying to get through the Firearms Owners Protection Act, and they donated $1.4 million to congressional candidates in 1984. So with the Firearms Owners Protection Act, basically these donations from the NRA's lobbyists caused Congress to roll back the few restrictions on buying, selling, and transporting firearms across state lines, and limited the inspections of gun dealers to one per year.
It's representational democracy, baby.
It's good.
Right.
I like making things more free to sell. It helps capitalism. That way, the more taxes go to the government, so the government can provide better services for the public.
Yeah, like protecting our firearms owners.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
It's a wonderful self-sustaining cycle.
I've always said that I would like universal health care, but imagine if we had universal gun care. Like, every American had the right to just take their gun into any gun shop and get it serviced for free. Don't know how to clean it? There's a shop that'll do that for free.
The thing is like, while I was just laughing really hard right now, my mind wandered to the NRA website that I was looking at earlier today and just thought, there's probably something equivalent to that on their fucking website. It's like their big dream.
There probably is.
We're going to have gun service stations on every corner.
National gun care. First nation in the world where every citizen could expect their gun to be taken care of.
I mean, God damn it. It is so much more likely at this point than getting fucking Medicare for all.
I could see it having broad support among all of Congress.
Jesus, just like really dark timeline flashed in my mind of like the biggest supporters are like Bernie Sanders and the Squad. Because they're like just treating it as passionately as they would Medicare for all. Guns are people too. So then, anything interesting happen in the 80s after that, or do
Not
we,
really.
Do we
There's
get
no-
into the wild and crazy 1990s?
Let's get to the 90s. So
Our time, our heyday.
I think probably the biggest thing for like the NRA and has caused like headaches everywhere is the big Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act.
The Brady Act is probably the most like, at least in my mind, the most well-known sort of gun regulations, or at least like attempted.
Yeah. And it was actually amazing like how little it did, but it was named after James A. Brady. He was the press secretary of Reagan. That he was shot in the head by John Hinckley.
Right.
I think
I always
John-
forget that someone else was shot in that melee.
Yeah, I mean, the bullet was meant for Reagan.
Right.
I don't know much about James A. Brady. I mean, he was Reagan's press secretary, so I assume he wasn't a great guy, but no one should probably get shot in the head.
I'm going to abstain from this.
The National Instant Criminal Background Check System. It took like 5 more years to go online.
Once it passed in, what is it, 93?
Yeah, it passed in 93, but
And
took 5
it
years
didn't
to
actually
go
take
online.
effect for 5 years. Or at least some part of it, you're saying? The criminal background check thing?
Yeah.
Okay. And the NRA didn't like that one bit?
No, they have not liked it. I mean, it took 7 years to pass.
I just have a feeling that it's been repealed, but that's not true, is it?
It's not been repealed. You're probably thinking of the next thing that's been repealed.
Okay.
So in 1994, there was this amazing crime bill called the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act. We love it.
Oh, I
right?
thought you were going to talk about Daddy Biden's crime bill. Or is that?
So this is the one
that's
that
not
put
the same thing, is it?
Oh, it is.
Oh, it is. Okay. My bad. I didn't know. I couldn't remember the like official name of that bill, but that's what this is, huh?
One of the good things about it, or I think one of the good things about it, it did have a 10-year ban on semi-automatic weapons, such as the AR-15.
You know, this is like a minor point, but I wonder if that was like instantly negotiated down from like, you know, like an indefinite
Forever.
ban.
I think it was.
And they're like, by the time the NRA got through with it, it was like, you get a decade, and we're probably going to overturn this shit later.
So, like, even when they were, like, passing this, the NRA warned that this and the Brady Act would lead to disarming the American public. This is really where the NRA really started pushing the message that the government's coming to take your guns.
Mm-hmm.
And I think right after this passed, the NRA had like pressed Congress so hard that at least Clinton blamed Congress flipping to the Republicans on the NRA, which our old friends at what do we call them again? Jacobin?
That's right.
Or as I like to call them, Jacobin.
Jacobin.
I liked this bit they had to say on it, but so in one of their recent articles, they had said, none of this is to say that the NRA is a paper tiger. If If anything, some of its current financial problems result from its success. It's hard to fundraise on paranoia that the government is coming for your guns as the first step in a globalist, liberal conspiracy to take away all your rights when the guy running that government seems to believe all your conspiracy theories. But it does show that, like Trump himself, the NRA represents a hard-right minority that has benefited enormously from the weak opposition it has faced from centrist-dominated Democratic Party. It's those very centrists, in fact, who have found it useful to exaggerate the NRA's strength rather than face up to their own weaknesses. The myth of the unbeatable gun lobby started in the aftermath of the 1994 Republican landslide in the midterm elections, which then President Bill Clinton attributed to his party being punished for passing the assault weapons ban. This explanation conveniently ignored the demoralization on the left produced by the Democrats' miserable performance after 2 years of controlling the White House and both houses of Congress. Are we talking about Obama or Clinton? Sorry.
Or Biden.
Universal health care? No. NAFTA? Yes. It also cast Clinton and his team as being punished for doing the right thing, which both gratified their egos and laid the groundwork for arguing that the party needed to move still further to the right, gutting welfare, mass incarceration, financial deregulation, yes, in order to win elections in a country that was clearly teeming with right-wing, gun-loving rubes. The NRA has been a useful boogeyman ever since for third-way Democrats like Clinton and Al Gore, looking to make the party fully competitive with Republicans for the allegiance of capitalist donors. Stories of the fierce gun lobby returned after Gore, an unbelievably soulless candidate whose campaign slogan was prosperity and progress, lost the 2000 presidential election to George W. Bush. But yeah, I feel like most of my life, up until very recently, the NRA's always was considered this unbeatable force. And I do think there's some merit to, like, not just the Republicans using it as, like, something to get some of their policies pushed through. And they do get a lot of, like, actually both parties have gotten a lot of money from the NRA, but Republicans receive most of the lobbying money from the NRA.
Yeah.
But the Democrats have used them often as a boogeyman to excuse themselves for not trying to do more. It is kind of funny to think of Clinton having the House and Senate and Obama having the House and Senate, and now going into now and thinking, oh man, it's just going to happen again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's same old, basically. I mean, it is in a lot of the same sort of playbook since Clinton, too. It's this whole idea of, like, needing to only do things in a bipartisan way and, like, yeah, using these boogeymen. Like, I guess the NRA is not so much as the boogeyman it used to be. But
yeah,
like,
but I mean, it was a boogeyman up until, like, 2018. It's just going... And even now, it's still working, but it has some problems. I'm going to get to its problems eventually, but if you don't know, they've filed bankruptcy recently. They're being tried in New York City by the New York DA, I think, for the DAs try to take away their nonprofit status, which could be big.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of them their power being exaggerated is an interesting one, because I think, like, you did way more research on this than I did, but, like, they've never really been, like, teeming with money. And, like, the example you gave of they, like, spent like $1.5 million, like, donating to congressional candidates in the 80s. That's not actually that much money.
Yeah,
really.
I mean,
in the grand scheme of things, it's like a drop in the bucket compared to, say, like, pharmaceutical industry or financial industry or whatever.
I think at their top, I'll have to look this up. I think around their top year in, like, lobbying expenses, as far as much money as there's poured into it, was around $30 million, which is substantial.
Yeah, that's significant. I think a lot of the work that gets done for the organization, though, is just, like, on the culture war level.
I was going to say, yeah, you're
which
right.
is free. Like, you don't have to pay for that.
They have a very big, like, base. Like, a lot of people are in the NRA. That is something that's actually making them lose power, is membership's down, and they're like just declining in popularity because less and less Americans own or care about guns, much like the Republican Party.
Yeah, that's interesting because you said that, or you didn't say this yet, but I think I saw somewhere that, was it like in like basically the year Trump took office, more or less, or like maybe right before, maybe the year he was running, like their membership went down like 20 something %.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and that fits with what we were talking about last time with the doomsday prepper type people, like being terrified of like hordes of people trying to take over their homes and stuff, and like or like financial collapse because of the debt, and then like they kind of forget about all that shit as soon as their side is like back in the presidency.
That's true. So I wonder if the NRA might become stronger again now that
that's what I was just thinking too. Yeah.
That's interesting. I did not think that. So nothing giant happens after 1994. There's no meaningful gun laws passed between 1994 to 2004. 2004, something spectacular happens. The assault rifle ban expires, and the NRA is very happy about it. The AR-15 quickly becomes the best-selling gun in America.
Damn, that was the beginning of that shit, huh? I never heard of an AR-15 until, all the tragedies.
It was kind of just taken out of our lives. Era formative years, because 94 to 2004 were kind of formative years for me. Yeah, whatever.
I wanted just one quick thing about when you said that sort of 93 or 94 around there is when the narrative of the government's coming for your guns really starts to take hold. I have a really distinctive memory of watching I'm not even say I know it was the Today Show when I was a little kid. I must have been 10, around that. And Charlton Heston was on being interviewed about gun shit. And,
yeah. What did Charles Manson have to say?
What? No, not Charles Manson.
Did you say Charles Manson?
No.
Okay. It's they went to prison to talk to Charles Manson
about gun rights.
I really wanted to hear this. I was like, can we dig this up?
No. Charlton Heston.
Oh, Heston. That makes way more sense. I don't know why I heard Charles Manson.
It's funny
Charles
to imagine.
Heston. Yeah, he's a poster boy for the NRA.
Yeah, from My Cold Dead Hands. That's all him. But I just remember the part where he's because I wasn't a political precocious 10-year-old at all, but he just brought up the old canard, the old argument of well, once the government starts coming for your guns, that's exactly what Hitler did, what Mao did, and all these crazy dictators. And I was like, ooh, wow, that's deep. That's probably true, isn't it? I don't know. Obviously I remember it for some reason. It didn't stick. I didn't join the NRA or anything even close to that. But anyway, it fits in exactly with what you're saying about that time in history and what they were pushing, as a really strong narrative.
Look at what happened to Australia after their 1996 program.
Everything got basically better.
No, they came and took 650,000 weapons away from their people. I hear people are still struggling to fight the giant spiders.
Yeah, if anyone really needs just untethered access to guns, it's Australians, because the country is trying to kill them constantly.
Some people say they gave the guns to the kangaroos just to make it more fair. The Australian man was too strong for the kangaroos.
That I think they made a movie about that called Tank Girl. Did you ever see Tank Girl?
I did see Tank Girl.
What's funny is I have never seen Tank Girl, but I know enough about it that it involves mutant kangaroo creatures that I'm pretty sure shoot guns.
It does.
Cool. I was right.
I really liked that movie the last time I saw it, but the last time I saw it was, I think, in the 90s.
That's when it came out. I'm pretty sure. Ice-T is one of the kangaroo monsters or
I think I
whatever
did
they
know
are.
that, yeah.
Anyway, good aside on the NRA.
So
Check out Tank Girl, y'all.
America has assault rifles again, and we're barreling into 2005. This is when we get the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. This was President George W. Bush's bill. Well, he signed it in. He signed the bill. It granted gun manufacturers immunity from civil lawsuits filed over crimes committed with firearms. It's good.
That seems useful.
That's a good thing.
That seems helpful for society.
The NRA called it a vitally important first step toward ending the anti-gun lobby's shameless attempt to bankrupt the American firearms industry through reckless lawsuits.
Shit, you know what I just realized? That's the act that Bernie Sanders supported, or at least he voted for.
Really
and
sad.
that was the thing that the Clinton campaign was coming at him about. It was like the one thing they could figure out to try to use against him. They're like,
I mean,
he's a pro-gun nut.
Because this one actually, as far as any type of bill like this, it was mostly helping gun manufacturers and big business.
Yeah.
It basically just put all the responsibility of anything going wrong with a gun on the direct consumer's hand.
I mean,
I think that's all.
In a weird way, it kind of makes some sense to me.
I don't know, because I think it allows them to get away with. Yeah, maybe it makes sense. I guess you can't sue Ford for someone using one of their cars in a crime.
I think maybe if you could still maybe sue for I don't know, if you found that their advertising campaigns were in some way encouraging violence and not just safe sports shooting.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, come on. Everyone knows the reason you own a gun is because you want to commit acts of violence. It has to be a fantasy. No one owns a fucking gun for any other reason. I refuse to believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. I think there's probably a few exceptions to the rule, but generally, I think you're right.
And if you own,
but I think even the people that are I'm just a sportsman and a hunter,
who hasn't fantasized about being Rambo? Some people want to take the fantasy as far as they can without making it real, until they do make it real.
Yeah, I mean, I think that explains a lot of, especially just the cultural obsession with guns and how it's not just. I think a big mistake too is to think that it's only people on the right, because I think there are a fair amount of liberals who they'll give a lot of lip service to we need sensible gun laws, but that phrase can mean so many different things to different people.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think sometimes what passes for sensible gun laws is not jack shit,
They want. I mean, most of them want Bloomberg stop and frisk, just fucking background checks and profiling.
Yeah, I mean, stop and frisk is obviously a fucking disaster for so many reasons.
But a lot of the gun laws that they try to pass are literally just profiling stuff, which is not sensible. Guns need to be treated more like cars. If we're going to have them, they need to be treated like cars, if nothing else.
Right.
In my opinion. As in, they should have the same type of rigor around them.
I would say more so.
Yeah, probably more so.
I mean, I think even some quote unquote pro-gun people, and I mean, it's trying to lump people into two simple categories is always a problem. But some people
the thing is, the NRA, I mean, a lot of pro-gun people obviously are in the NRA and support the NRA, but a lot of those very pro-gun people, regular people, actually support a lot of the same stuff, the same type of measures that say your normal Democrat wants. But the NRA seems to usually directly work for what gun manufacturers want.
Yeah, and I imagine too that totally. And I imagine also what gets skewed, skews the demographics or whatever, and the surveys and studies is that they'll phrase like a questionnaire as like, do you agree with these filthy liberal commies? It's like, well, no, hell no. And it's like, good. But it's like, if you phrase it as like, do you agree that like people should have some sort of training before they get a gun? They might be like, oh, well, yeah, that sounds sensible.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, like, some people think, like people that are not even like necessarily wouldn't call themselves anti-gun or anything like that, still think that like there should be like rigorous training before you get one, which, I mean, that's a small piece of like the whole puzzle, but I don't know what I'm getting at. Just that like that seems like one small good idea if we're going to have guns at all, which I don't see any reason why we're not going to have them around, like maybe ever again, at least
That's
not
true.
for a long time. Anyway, where are we now in history?
I'm at 2006. We have the Disaster Recovery Personal Protection Act, which was after Katrina, the police in New Orleans wanted to seize the firearms of any citizen staying in the city of New Orleans. Mixed thoughts on this, but the NRA sued and won an injunction against the bill. So an amendment was added to the bill that prohibits the confiscation of lawfully owned firearms during emergencies. So basically, police were worried about rioting in New Orleans after Katrina, wanted to take guns away from people who were there. The NRA did not like the ideal of that.
See,
I'm pretty
that's,
sure the cops really just wanted to take guns away from people on the street.
I mean, let's not dance around it. They wanted to take guns away from poor black people.
Yeah, but it was also going to give the cops the right to just go ahead and take them away from everyone, and that's why the NRA.
I'm saying who was really left there, like in the wake of Katrina, though. You know what I mean? I mean, of course,
That's
there's
true.
like, I mean, as far as I know, it's the majority like black folks, but
Yeah.
maybe that's not true, and maybe that's just what my gut tells me. But
Well, so this time
It
the
just-
NRA
it just
was
remind-
helping the little man because they made sure the cops couldn't do that.
well, I know, and so I was gonna say this is like a weird inversion of the thing in 1968 with the Black Panthers. It's just
It is, but at
Where
this
the-
point, sorry.
where the police wanted to do what the NRA wanted to do in 1968, but then the NRA is so like ideologically committed to their pro-gun stance that like it seems like there will maybe never be that kind of like racially targeted thing again with the NRA.
I don't think,
And
there
not
will be.
not to their credit, it's just because they're like so dug in now on their ideology and like absolutism about the gun rights that I think they know that they would be called out as like hypocrites if they were suddenly like, okay, you can seize those people's guns this
Yeah,
one time.
I think you're 100% right. I think that's where the argument of saying like, imagine if like all of Antifa had been carrying guns at these protests, then
It would be a real head scratcher for the NRA.
I don't think that they would. I don't think it would get a ban in Congress. I don't think bans would suddenly get banned in Congress.
No, but I think that the FBI, just national policing agencies generally, whatever, would like really up their.
I should have said Antifa. I should have said Black Lives Matter. Whatever. It's
Well, no, I mean I think with either of them, I mean Antifa got put on the terrorist watch
Sure.
list. Is Black Lives Matter on that too?
No, I don't
I think
think
they
so.
might.
Are they?
Maybe not.
That's
I
crazy if
wouldn't
they
be
are.
surprised if they
It's-
were.
I mean, it's crazy that both of them are, especially like Antifa, which I think is just like fucking like not an organization. It's just like an internet meme. But am I wrong? I feel like I'm part of it. I feel like you're part of it. I feel like everyone's part of it. The whole Antifa thing being on a terrorist list is craziness for various reasons. And it kind of hurts my brain.
Yeah, we're anti-Antifa.
I like Antifa.
No, I mean,
I don't like
I'm-
fascism, and I like being anti things.
there are people who call themselves anti-Antifa, right?
I
Which
do.
is just it's a hilarious it's like that just means fascist then, right? When you're anti thing, you are that thing. Like really simple math problem there. And they're like, huh? No. because they're not really anti-fascists. They're the real fascists. Anyway, sorry, that's a really tired
Let's
topic.
get to 2013. 2013, good year. The world did not end in 2012. Some people were disappointed. So the assault weapons ban, Obama tried to ban the AR-15 again. It didn't work. NRA opposed it with the Stop the Gun ban campaign, which was like a big ad campaign. So I think there's a really funny Charlie Daniels, the country music singer commercial the NRA did from this time that's just like batshit insane.
I can imagine. This is the time when the Democrats owned the government, though, right?
Yeah. But it's still, it failed 60-40 in the Senate. And, you know, because there's people like Joe Manchin who loves guns.
But I guess I don't know what the numbers were, but that means like a significant number of Democrats voted against the thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was significant lobbying on the NRA's part on this.
So they do donate to Democrats, but just like
they
not nearly as much.
They
as
usually
Republicans.
donate more to Republicans, obviously, but like, so they donated a lot to Joe Manchin when he was first starting out.
Makes sense.
He was I think when he was elected for being the only Democrat with an A rating for the NRA. And like, if you ever watch his old ad campaigns, it's like him shooting, it's him shooting one of
Oh wait, is
Obama's bills.
Okay, so that's...
Was it one of Obama's bills? He's shooting like a gun control act. It might have been one of I don't remember whose fucking bill it was now.
I think I'm thinking of something that's more recent than that, and it maybe I don't know who it was now that I think about it, but some guy, some politician, like one of his ads, one of his TV ads was him shooting like a fully automatic machine gun like into a pond, like at a golf course or something. I gotta look that up for later. I just remember it was really funny, and I'm curious who it was. But
Manchin does at one point try to pass a better background check law for gun control, which made him kind of fall out with the NRA. But it was funny because from what I understand, the bill that he made about gun control was actually full of like stuff the NRA wanted, but because it was trying to get passed as a gun control act, the NRA just turned against him.
Yeah, see that's what I mean about like they have to be so like sort of hardline now, but like even the appearance of supporting any sort of restrictions, even if it's realistically not, like they can't do it.
It's just an automatic act. It has to be, right?
Yeah.
So we live here, getting closer to the present. We have 2015 Charleston. There's Dylan Roof. You might remember him.
Oh yeah.
He's the guy that went to the church, killed some people.
He's the guy who went to Burger King right after too, I think.
I think so. So there was some Congress had a few proposals to make it harder for people to buy guns, but nothing was voted on.
I think like obviously this is like the inevitable, subject is mass shootings. One thing, every time there's one of those, which is so often that it's just mind-boggling. The gun sales like have a huge spike like after every single one.
The NRA has helped get it into people's head that after every single one, that could be the time that's politicized and your guns really are taken away. Like they were in Australia.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense then. It's like a better load up now before the government comes.
Yeah.
Or before like some of my favorite guns get banned. Like it's just it feels like one of those things that's just like never even like on the table. like the most extreme sort of like bills that get proposed and knocked down are basically like. We should do like a psych test on people before they're
not even allowed to computerize the fucking records. I don't know if you know about that, but like
no, I didn't.
Most like gun registry weapons, gun background checks that were done like pre-computers, they have to be in paper format. They're not allowed to keep digital records of them. If you ever there's like great footage of like people actually going through the records they have of like gun ownership and serial ship, just like broken, wet, dried out papers, because I don't remember exactly which law it is. They're not allowed to fucking put them in real databases.
That's just absurd.
It is. Because every time they've tried to pass things where they can, it has been lobbied against by her boys at the NRA.
Yeah, it's like even if they wanted to sort of self-reform, it just seems like they just can't. Like, they either have to like disintegrate, or they're just always going to be pushing the hard line no matter what.
Yep. So I'm almost to the present, but 2015, you have San Bernardino, where the Tashfeen Syed mass shooting, 14 people were killed. The Senate rejected a proposal one day after the shooting. The Senate revisited Grassley's and Manchin Toomey's background check proposal. The Senate rejected the measure the day after the shooting. Then 2016, there's Pulse nightclub. More measures fell, more lobbying. 2017, Las Vegas. Biggest shooting ever, I guess. Legislation on bump stocks is still pending. 2017, Sutherland Springs, 26 dead. 2018, Parkland, 2020, there's a Milwaukee brewery shooting. This year there's Boulder, Atlanta, and Buffalo.
Jesus. I can't even
others.
keep track of them now.
What?
I can't keep track of them anymore. Like, I did, like, even the most recent ones, like, they were like, as soon as there's one, like, the second I start to like look in to see what happened, like, another one happens, and it's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, it sounds like, oh, woe is me. I'm not saying that, but like, it's just like, it's such an oppressive news cycle.
It is
like,
oppressive, and the NRA, while not as strong as they have been in the past, they're still effectively lobbying against it. They still rally support. They're very good at getting their base going. And then, like, their ratings still hold value to the people who vote for Republicans. So the Republicans who might even want to do, like, sensible gun laws can't because they're worried about their base.
Yeah, it's like the thing of, like, what would be the equivalent on, like, the Democrat side? I guess being, like, pro-life as a Democrat would be, like, the equivalent of being, like, pro any sort of gun regulation as a Republican.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, it's just that kind of line that you are not allowed to cross, like, in any circumstance, because we live in a stupid culture.
It's true.
With a shitty government.
So, as we've made it to the present, and we've had shootings recently, the NRA right now, they're being quiet. They haven't really started lobbying the government to stop gun control stuff that might be discussed. They probably will, but with the
because there hasn't even been anything proposed.
Yeah,
right?
There's been nothing proposed. If something's proposed, the NRA usually waits a bit for like people to forget about the shootings, and then they come out and make their statement. That's like their general plan. They don't want to come out while people are angry and make a statement. They want to come out later and say, well,
there are a few bad apples.
Had a gun during that event.
Right.
It would have probably been okay.
Wasn't there something that like sort of? I mean, I think there's probably a lot of cases where that good guy with a gun thing is disproven. I mean, I know there are.
There are
lots of just broader studies, but like, I think like some of the people were packing heat in Las Vegas. Didn't do them any fucking good. Guys way up in a goddamn hotel room, like, I mean,
well, he was being assisted by helicopters and shit.
You know another right. Well, that's the tinfoil hat version. Although I do think that I mean, this is like would be an offshoot, but just I've heard some really kind of weird shit about sort of like maybe FBI or CIA involvement in that shooting, but and it would sort of make sense. Like, it makes a really dark kind of sense when you think about the idea of the government like being behind mass shootings sometimes, because like we were just saying, like how it's such an oppressive thing on your news feed. And I mean, that sounds almost kind of callous, because like, of course, like it's not the same as being fucking shot, but like it does something to you psychologically. It does something to the country where, like, I don't know, it just makes you feel like there's no
way out.
There's no hope.
Like no reprieve.
Yeah. And And it's just, and it normalizes it to the extent of like
maybe the normal. This is going to be kind of far fetched, but maybe the normalization of these mass shootings over the past 20 years has a little something like has had like the effect of how Americans dealt with coronavirus, which is by not dealing with it. Like maybe Americans have been conditioned to not deal with crisis.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, people are definitely delusional, and like, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting parallel because, yeah, like right before people started to accept, and the fact is that some people still don't accept that coronavirus is real.
That's true.
I mean, they're in the minority, of course, but like, yeah, it was like, oh, well, that's a Chinese problem. That's an Asian person's problem. Like we never will have anything like that. It's like, do you know what happened like 100 years ago? Anyway.
Oh yeah, I should mention. I wanted to get back to what the NRA is up to now.
Yeah.
So they're mostly being quiet after these shootings, but I will say 5 days before the mass shooting at the supermarket in Colorado, which I think is the most recent mass shooting because it happened right after Atlanta, the NRA did help strike down a Boulder, Colorado ban on the AR-15. Basically, they lobbied against the city for trying to ban the AR-15, and then 15 days later, the shooting happened. But
right.
So some what I'm going to call good news about the organization since like 2019 has been on like the down and out. But many different places reported on it. But I'll just go with this bit from Jacobin because I like them. NRA President Oliver North tried and failed to oust longtime leader Wayne LaPierre, currently chief executive and executive vice president, and announced soon after that he wouldn't be running for a second term. But North, the notorious Iran-Contra gun runner and drug smuggler, whose ceremonial role as NRA president made a mockery of its claim to represent the law-abiding good guy against criminals in the deep state, isn't a major player in this fight. Rather, he's the spokesmodel for Ackerman McQueen, the Oklahoma-based advertising firm that's long been an integral part of the NRA. So the NRA is like breaking up with its advertising firm that is like really solidified NRA into our national conscience to some degree. But Ackerman and the NRA have been locked in a power struggle as the gun lobbying group has been hit by a financial squeeze that's led to the freezing of employee pensions, layoffs at NRA TV video channel, NRA TV is now officially dead, and a credit crunch. The result has been an escalating legal and media battle between the organizations and its advertising firm over who is more responsible for reckless spending and gross mismanagement. NRA lawyers have accused Ackerman McQueen of issuing overbilled, deceptive, vague invoices and having decision-making power within the NRA that creates financial conflicts of interest. The ad company counters with lurid stories of LaPierre billing $500,000 at the Beverly Hill boutique and Italian resorts. Yeah, he apparently spent for 1 day's clothing because he needed to buy clothing for a day. He bought $40,000 in clothes for the day because he needed it. He paid. This is very nice of him, but he had an intern during when all this was happening. A 21-year-old female intern. He paid $13,000 for her rent at a nice beach house. That's not gross at all, right?
I'm sure that it was no strings attached.
Among other stuff. So this all-around corruption was tolerable during the golden years of the Obama administration when gun fundamentalists feared the coming apocalypse and the money kept rolling in. But as Vox reported in January, membership dues have dropped 21% since 2016, and non-dues donations have gone down by almost 30%, leaving the NRA in a debt crisis, even as it faces an ongoing New York State investigation into its tax-exempt status. That's 2019 to 20. 2021, the NRA has been plagued by legal battles and lower revenue in recent years. The group filed for bankruptcy in January, attempting to move to Texas to avoid a corruption investigation by New York Attorney General Letitia James. The NRA lobbying spending fell to just $2.2 million in 2020, its lowest total in over a decade. Still, the group has been aggressively pushing Republicans to reject Democrat gun bills, calling them a transparent attempt by gun control advocates in Congress to restrict the rights of law-abiding Americans under the guise of addressing the violent criminal culture in America. So that was from Open Secrets, but 2020 was like their least amount that they've spent on, like, I guess, lobbying ever. And
I didn't know that shit about Oliver North. For some reason, I thought he like disappeared in a fucking cloud of smoke or something. But
no, he became the president of the NRA, man.
I didn't realize that.
What else would he do?
Wait, when was that?
When was he the president of the NRA?
Yeah.
For all.
Well, I thought it said that he failed to get Wayne LaPierre out.
No. He stepped down. So Oliver North was the president. Wayne was the CEO, and
okay. So they're both just like big wigs at the NRA.
Yeah, they were both running the place.
Okay. Yeah, Jesus, I feel like when I think of Oliver North, I just think of him testifying in the 80s. I don't think I've seen that motherfucker's face. I mean, for the better. What a fucking piece of shit.
Yes.
That's my incisive commentary.
He is a piece of shit. So the Washington Post released, like, basically when they're talking about all the, like, crazy spending. The reason they're being investigated in New York is because of stuff like Wayne LaPierre buying $500,000 in random clothing and stuff for himself, and he's a nonprofit organization. But, like, the spending's a bit insane. Like, so they have, like, this one guy that's a firearms executive. They paid him out $3.1 million for products and $11K in membership commissions to companies. But, like, there's this whole, like, list of just, like, where the money was going, and a lot of it doesn't add up for a nonprofit organization. But, you know, that happens. Like, they give $400K to a former NFL player for consulting. You know, you get, like, $123K for the purchase of a truck from a NASCAR team owner. There's a lawyer they give money to. They give $98K to another lawyer. But yeah, they were just throwing money around to random people, and it looked really odd in their taxes, and that's why they're being investigated by New York, because basically they were spending money in a way that nonprofits aren't supposed to spend money. But then again, what's it really mean to be a nonprofit in America when the NFL is a fucking nonprofit? But that's a whole other...
Yeah, nonprofit status is pretty sus.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
I think it's really funny that Wayne LaPierre's, like, clothing shopping spree was in Beverly Hills too, like about in what is it, Italian, like, tourist towns or whatever. Like, I don't know. I mean, just picture your sort of the person that you picture in your mind when you think of NRA member, and, like, what would they think of that? Like, I don't know.
They'd think he earned it for working so hard to keep America safe.
Well, see, they probably would rationalize it into that. But if you told them the same thing about, say, Barack Obama, they'd be like, "Ooh, that elitist."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, slur.
But,
I'm just going to say slur.
Obama would make sure to go to a bespoke tailor in the city.
I mean, what was the classic shit that they would get, like, to point out that he's elitist? And you know what the thing is he is elitist, but, like, not because of what he eats or his clothes, for other reasons. But, like,
he went to Harvard.
There's that too.
Fucking elitist.
But like, they were like, he's looking down his nose at us because he ate like kale or something. I forget exactly what it was. Jesus. That was like one of those little, like, gates, like tan suit gate, and like
the mustard
no lapel pin gate, and there was like kale gate or some shit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. All that stuff's fucking nonsense. I mean, how can they look? Yes, Obama's elite, but how can you look at Trump and not also realize that he's an elite, even more so than Obama?
He eats New York pizza with a knife and fork.
Yeah, but he's literally from one of the elite family of New York.
I'm saying, like, even in his dumb, like, if you wanted to just analyze all the dumb, like hand gestures and fucking way they eat food and shit like that, like,
Then it fucking comes down to like what's semantics on what elite is. I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, there's obviously some like some cognitive dissonance going on. If they could be like, Wayne LaPierre is a badass motherfucker. He's not some frou-frou guy going to boutiques in LA. It's like, well, that's exactly what he is.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, people are hypocrites. That's not a news flash, but it's just funny to me that it's specifically like Beverly Hills boutiques.
So
Like,
some of the stuff that the NRA's try to do to like get around this court case in New York is, well, they filed for bankruptcy in New York. Not so much because they needed to file for bankruptcy, but usually if you file for bankruptcy, you can get out of these type of tax cases. So they mainly filed for bankruptcy to try to like not have to go to court, which didn't work. The judge did let them file for bankruptcy, but they didn't let them like weasel out of the case. So their next move was to decide to move all their operations to Texas, because Texas is a lot Texas likes guns more than New York because their base is in New York at the moment. But also Texas is a lot more friendly to like debtors, and usually if you move your LLC to a different state, you can decide to be like, okay, since we're moving to this state, the state that we're moving to is going to take the court case. But it has to be approved by the state that did the court case, and New York decided not to approve it. So far, the things that the NRA has done to try to weasel out of this like court case has not worked, which makes me think that maybe they're losing power. But at the same time, stuff that you've said, like now that we have Uncle Joe in office, maybe the NRA will start getting a lot more member donations and support really soon and come back to their beastly self.
it wouldn't surprise me. I also could see, though, a thing where like nothing changes in the gun culture and it still maybe continues ramping up, but that people are just like done with the NRA because like maybe they see this shit about like the corruption and they're just like, no, this, maybe it's like they used to be good, but now they're corrupt.
I've heard some of that's happening. I've also heard that there's a lot of on the right, more like grassroots gun stuff popping up because they realize that they could just collect the same type of money and lobby through grassroots, which is
because I mean, I think
because of the internet stuff.
As much as people want to like demonize their political rivals as being stupid, I don't think everybody who's into guns is an idiot.
No, obviously not.
I think I mean, some of them probably can see right through the NRA's bullshit. I mean, they're a nonprofit, whatever, but they're very intertwined with the government, and like a lot of people that like stockpile guns and shit are very much opposed to the government, the federal government at the very least. I was going to just throw in one thing about Texas. I'm pretty sure Texas has one of the most like lax, I think they have just straight up open carry in public. I think you can just
so too.
I think you can just walk around basically anywhere with a gun, like out in your hand. Maybe this might be libelous against the great
for some reason.
Well, I could definitely see like, the big empty states, as I'll call them, having like probably the most lax gun laws of all. But like, Texas is like some of the biggest cities in the country. And because I remember.
You lived in Texas for.
Yeah, I was going to say when I was even in Austin, I think I remember, but maybe I'm confusing this with the movie. I don't know. I feel like I saw guys like carrying guns around like in public, but maybe. I mean, I could Google this, but I'm not going to. It's more fun to just make up shit about a whole state. But anyway, there's definitely something to some of the stereotypes. Like Texas is very much a pro-gun state.
Sure. Fair. Okay, well, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how the NRA lobbies. So I mean, the main way you lobby is you gain access to legislators, and the most effective lobbying to do that is to maybe hire former legislators as lobbyists.
Yeah, that's the
They know
the
each other.
the famous revolving door.
Yeah. So the CEO and vice president of the NRA, Wayne LaPierre, he was a legislative aide to a Democratic Virginia delegate before joining the NRA. That's where he got his start.
A Democrat.
And,
Traitor. Well, no, he's seen the light since then, so it's okay.
So, yeah, that's helped. And he's also known people inside the industry. So one lobbying technique that the NRA practices is creating like a separate organization to lobby on its behalf. So you have the ILA, which you've probably heard of, is the Institute for Legislative Action, which is like a branch of the NRA, and they're the people in charge of their lobbying. The ILA established in 1975, and ever since then they have played an influential role. They have played a role in passing and stopping basically all the gun control bills. Furthermore, the NRA ILA has influenced the outcome of state, local, and national elections. In fact, in the 94 election, that's the time when Clinton was like, oh, the NRA is ruining the Democratic Party. And the other big thing the NRA does for lobbying is using their grading system to basically influence elections for senators and House members, and being like, hey, we'll give you a bad grade, which will affect your like votes if you don't do this for us. So that's the main ways they lobby. And money helps a lot.
I just had a weird thought of like them like colluding with the Democrats on that and being like, we'll give you a good score if you don't do what we want. It's like just the opposite thing. It's like,
Wow. I wonder if they do that at all.
I wouldn't be shocked, honestly.
No, me either, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
it's like, do you really want to be the next Joe Manchin? It's not going to be good for your prospects.
So I feel like since we have been talking about the NRA most of the time, I do just want to like bring up some numbers about guns, because everyone talking about guns always has to like talk about guns, right? And the numbers. I like numbers. You like numbers. The Johns like numbers. The internet likes numbers. Damn it.
Hit me.
Annual number of total firearms manufactured in the U.S. is more than 9 million. That creates jobs, right? People are
Does it?
manufacturing guns.
I do wonder about the manufacture, like how much is actually done in the United States.
Well, these are the ones actually manufactured in the United States, according to
But
like,
see,
Purview.
I think there's a loophole in that too.
Oh, really?
There's a thing about like when something is like made in wherever, like something can be legally stamped with made in the USA, and all the parts could be made in China, and then they assemble those parts in America. And it's
I see.
So there could be a thing where like the actual raw materials and like basic parts are manufactured overseas,
But it's getting put together here.
and then they just like clip it together, or like machines put it together, you know?
I see.
So I mean, even if it was just purely all made in the US, I know you're obviously being sarcastic with the jobs thing,
Sure.
but like, yeah, it wouldn't account for very many jobs. Even though you'd think we're so gun crazy, couldn't we turn that into some money? But yeah, I'm sure like everything in America, like it's probably mostly manufactured in China or somewhere else.
The last year they have good statistics is actually 2019, because the statistics take a bit, the numbers take a bit to feed through. But that year there was 10,258 homicides by guns, and homicides with guns have been going down over time, since like even the 70s.
I think just violent crime in general has been going down since like at least like the 90s, even maybe if not further back. But yeah,
I think one of the scariest things about guns is the suicides. There's been like 19,000 gun suicide deaths.
that's something that doesn't get talked about in like the mainstream
That's
discussions very much at all.
nearly double the amount of homicides.
Right.
Um, there were 23,854 suicides by firearm in 2017, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention.
That's the thing I gotta just ask about. Like, why? Because I was looking at some stuff too, and it said, like, according to the CDC, why the fuck is the CDC in charge of this? What do they have to do with guns at all?
I think whenever it's like a suicide, they come in and it's like more like depression is a disease. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I guess that makes sense. But like, also, I found numbers from them that were just about that were about how many defensive shootings there were every year in the U.S.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with mental health or suicide, really. Not
I'm not exactly
directly.
sure why they deal with it.
It's weird. It's just weird. I guess maybe I should just look into it. But it was something that leaped out to me as like, that makes no fucking sense. Because there's like, I don't know, there's other branches of the government. There's the fucking, what is it, the ATF, specifically about firearms.
The Automobile Transportation and Firearms Department.
Alcohol and tobacco, man.
Alcohol and tobacco, duh.
No, but it's a weird combination of things, that agency: alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Those are all the things I fucking love in movies. So there's this essay on Harper's Magazine that I really liked from James Pogue called "Good Guys with Guns," but he had a bit on the suicide thing that I liked, but this line: mass shootings provoke justifiable terror, but their incidence has not increased dramatically over the past decade, during which they resulted in an average of about 100 deaths a year. Gun suicides, by contrast, account for over 22,000. Even if mass shootings were eliminated entirely, that would save fewer lives than the hundreds that have been spared annually as a result of safety initiatives to reduce accidental discharges. Moreover, while assault rifles tend to make individual mass shootings deadlier, handguns are used in 81% of such incidents. And in 2017, the most recent year for which comprehensive statistics are available, 64% of all gun murders were committed with handguns and only 4 with rifles, which includes gun classified as assault weapons. So, like, I know everyone's big on banning assault weapons, but I haven't got there yet. I actually think it might be better to just figure out how to deal with like public health and like just making sure stable people have guns than worrying about the bans on guns.
Yeah. Although I think there's an argument about like, and it comes from like a sort of, we got to like just have a name for it. We'll call it the pro and anti-gun sides. But from like the sort of anti-gun side, there's an argument that a lot of the people who kill other people with guns don't suffer like a history of mental illness, that they wouldn't, even if there was like even on like a background check looking for like history of mental illness, is probably not going to turn up. I mean, well, I also think that like, if there are going to be, there should be background checks. And I think that you still would weed out some people that probably should not have guns. But like,
yeah, I didn't necessarily mean background checks. I meant like more of good training, good like support groups for people.
Yeah, just like general, like we should be more proactive mental health wise as a country.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so now I figure let's talk a little bit about like the gun policy ideals that I would like to see, maybe some that you would like to see. I got some stuff here. So we talked about the Bloomberg attempt where they want stuff like
stop and frisk,
where they talk about banning certain types of guns and talk about how gun users are the problem. And stop and frisk, right? It's not the greatest way to deal with guns. There's Sorry,
I mean, it's just been like proven to be a rotten idea through and through. Even if you want to, even if you want to overlook the racial aspect of it, which is like undeniable, it still didn't work at all. Anyway,
I'm going to be pulling some stuff from a Jacobin article called "Socialist Approach to Firearms," which they said we need more anti-poverty and healthcare programs that address the causes and effects of gun violence. And we need more regulations on the gun industry. There's no reason why firearms should be the subject to at least as many health and safety rules, should not be the subject to at least as many health and safety rules as cars and pharmaceuticals. We need fewer carceral solutions like increased jail sentences for gun possessions, aggressive policing strategies to get guns off the street, and security measures like metal detectors and not quite random searches that make schools feel like prisons. Yeah, all that stuff sucks. Like, I hate going through metal detectors at the airport. I think it's fucking pointless. It would be much better if we were doing more of the first stuff, you know, anti-poverty programs and healthcare programs that actually try to get people not to want to be violent.
yeah, I think it has to be some combination of things though too, because yes, like making sure that people have a better quality of life and that people with like severe mental illness get the help they need. Even though, I mean, I think that's always the argument that comes up after a mass shooting, right? And that's another thing is like the arguments feel so futile right now
really
because
do.
It's the same fucking circle over and over again.
Every single time.
And like, but it's always the like oh, they were a crazy person. But like really like as fucked up as like some of these people that go on mass shootings, as fucked up as their ideas are, they are not necessarily diagnosed with any kind of mental illness.
That's true.
That would at least a kind that would explain their behavior.
Sometimes that's because we don't have like great health care to begin with in the country, and people aren't really getting the care they need to look out for that type of stuff.
I think though, even post their crimes, they get examined by psychiatrists, and it's like, no, they're not psychotic. They're not sociopaths.
Yeah.
Like maybe they have like depression or something, but depression doesn't correlate with, you know, like mass murder. So I think that like it's a faulty argument. And so what I'm saying is like it would be good to have all of the better like social programs and everything for sure. But I think that there also have to be
some restrictions.
It has to be at least on par with what Australia did, I think.
I mean,
and like, but like that seems so extreme.
My ideal
in the
scenario
United
is we
States.
basically just ban guns altogether, but I realize not going to happen. I think maybe something that would be good, another good thing to focus on that this Jacobin article brought up was a key starting point for a socialist approach to gun violence is that police and prisons are not solutions to gun violence, but are in fact major contributors. Researchers with the Human Rights Data Analysis Group estimated that police account for a third of stranger homicides and almost 10% of total murder victims, which are astonishing figures. And they're absent from most discussion about gun violence. So, like,
right.
A third of homicides are committed by police.
Yeah. I mean,
Or maybe we start with taking away the police's guns.
Well, good luck.
They don't have them in England, right? They don't just carry them around in London.
I think like most countries, they don't just carry them all the time.
Cops don't really carry them around in Korea. I think they keep one in their car, though.
Maybe. I mean, the gun culture in Korea is so different from anything in like the United States.
I just found out you can go hunting in Korea, but you
have to get like a very rare and special license, is what I understand. It's not like
it's hard to get, and then you can't own the gun. You have to go rent the gun.
Right. I think you can be like a PI and apply for one as well.
Oh, I did not know that one.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, this is all like anecdotal right now.
Yeah.
I didn't look any of this stuff up, but like
I used to work by a shooting range when I worked.
and that's the other thing is I didn't realize there were even shooting ranges
there
for
are
like
shooting ranges.
a
You can go,
number
like,
of
shoot
years.
guns here.
Yeah,
That's
but like
fine. I mean, that should like be all people who love guns so much. Why isn't that just fucking good enough for them? You want to go shoot guns? Just go shoot at the fucking shooting range. Like I go and play. Well, actually, I don't really have an analogy that works perfectly for that. But
so I mean, the really like what sometimes feels like an unsolvable problem to me is like if what's broken about America is just like the culture or like because you look at other countries that like you can still do sports shooting and whatever, like you can get your hands in a gun, like if you really want to get your hands on a gun in Korea, you could. I mean it wouldn't be nearly as easy as in the US, but like my point is that the mass shootings don't happen in any other country the way that they do in the US. It's like very unique situation. And like, is it something in the water, and it's not, I don't know what it is, honestly. I mean, people say that it's like the sign of like the decaying empire or, I mean, it's probably a number of things that contribute to it, but I don't know. When I was like getting ready to do this episode, I was realizing like how this debate, this issue about like what to do about gun violence, is the one I probably have the least sort of confident answers to out of like a lot of issues, a lot of topics. Like when you ask me about like how should COVID have been handled in the US, like I'll give you like very confident answers.
people should have been given masks.
From
day one.
I mean, we've talked about it a million times on this podcast, but or like say like what should be done about healthcare. Like I have a pretty confident idea about what the solution would be, but when it comes to this stuff and the U.S., like I mean, I have some ideas, but like I don't know, I don't feel as confident in them as to like end this weird phenomenon of mass shootings that seem to happen like I don't know. Every month, it feels like.
Yeah.
Like at least.
If basically since Parkland, to me, it feels like it's, or maybe since Sandy Hook, it's felt like it's been every month of my life. Maybe since Columbine.
I was going to go back as far as Columbine too. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of like, at least that's the one that like was first like in my consciousness, I think.
Me too.
I mean, there were some before that, obviously, but I think that there weren't really school shootings in particular. I mean, there probably were, but that was the big one, obviously. But like, yeah, so quickly after that happened, there were like so many, I mean, some people call them like copycats, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it inspired some people to like troubled kids to do the same thing, but I don't know. I think it's a deeper problem than that too. And it's definitely not because of fucking shit like Marilyn Manson or whatever.
No, it's something about just the psyche of America.
Yeah. And that's the troubling thing is like, what do you do about a country's like collective psychology other than, the things you said, like make people's material conditions better?
We need a very different and much better public health framework.
And I was just thinking, as I said those words, though, like make people's material conditions better. Like the Columbine kids were like, wanted nothing. Like they were like upper middle class kids, but I don't know. I mean, maybe those are I don't know. I guess I'm not prepared to like get deep into the psychology of all of it, but it's a troubling topic for a lot of reasons.
The Columbine kids were like, I guess today would have just been automatically like lumped off as incels, and it would have been blamed on their incelness.
Wasn't the thing about them though, the misperception is that they were bullied and stuff, and they really weren't at all. They were actually kind of bullies themselves. I think I remember hearing that.
Yeah, I think they were bullies themselves, but I think they personally felt like they were being bullied because they were different from like the popular crowd.
Yeah.
asshole sites. I just imagine they were like prototype, like asshole Reddit science nerds.
Yeah. I mean,
which some ways I was too, for better or worse.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure there's some like detailed like case like overviews like
I'm certain there
studies on all of this stuff, but
yeah, I mean I don't really have I have no clue how to fix the violence problem in America. I don't think banning guns is possible.
I also like, and this is going to sound like I'm fucking promoting the NRA talking points, but like, I don't think that would necessarily solve the problem either.
Yeah.
Of at least the problem of like these insane mass shootings, because I mean, those type of people will find a way to get guns no matter what. Although, I mean, so like maybe this is a good time to talk about Australia.
Sure.
I remember like this whole thing. I mean, this happened in '96, but like, I feel like a lot of Americans weren't aware of it until Jim Jeffries, the stand-up comedian, he had like kind of a viral like YouTube clip or something from one of his.
I feel like it's brought up now after every shooting that happens in America.
Okay. See, you know what? I think I've honestly just.
But it might have been because of that. I just mean, I think it's brought up now, like, even the Onion article bring it up as like only country on earth who can't solve this problem type deal.
Right. But yeah, I remember he goes on like a long thing about what Australia did. He's an Australian guy, and I mean he's going for laughs while he's also being kind of serious. But he summed it up as basically like there was a big mass shooting in Tasmania. We banned the fucking guns, and now people don't shoot each other anymore. And I mean that's really oversimplified, but it's also basically what it is. And it wasn't really.
You don't have guns.
And like specifically what they did is they didn't just outright ban guns necessarily, but they
did a buyback, right?
They did a buyback thing. And I think it was like nearly 700,000 guns were collected and destroyed, like just physically destroyed.
And they were paying more like, I think retail value for the guns or whatever, which is actually probably more than some people expected to get for the guns.
Yeah. And basically like so mass shootings went down, and they're like compared to the US there wasn't like a huge trend of mass shootings in Australia anyway. Right. It said like before 96 there were 13 mass shootings in an 18-year period. And it went down to zero. Oh wait, yeah, it went down to zero after the 96 like buyback thing. And then like gun-related homicides dropped by 59%, and gun-related suicides dropped by 65%. Although it says that number has kind of just stayed steady where it is now for a while.
Tell you part of why I think Australia could also pass something like that where America never could is they're notoriously great at not having outside money in their politics.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, I think that like
they also force everybody to vote.
They do force everyone to vote. Americans are like 80% in favor of stronger gun control measures on both sides. It's another thing Americans want, but I think as long as like money flows in, like the NRA, non-profit, but it gets a lot of money from gun manufacturers, and they spend that money on Congress to make sure they vote in the gun manufacturer's interest. And as long as like Congress continues to receive more and more money from manufacturers and corporations, they're always going to vote in that way because campaign donations is what they want.
Right.
So maybe this goes back to abolishing the Senate.
It all comes back to abolishing the Senate.
Abolishing money in politics. That's what I want. That's the dream, right?
I mean, that's kind of the start of everything in a way.
I don't think, like, sitting here, I don't think anything can get done in America as long as I think a lot of Americans probably have more in sync like wants for themselves than they're usually willing to admit. But I think that corporations have done a very good job of dividing people to make sure they continue to profit.
Yeah, I mean, because for example, like, okay, so everything's this binary way of looking at things too. It's like you've got your blue people and you've got your red people, and all the red people love guns, which is not true. Like you said, it's like an 80% really kind of agree on what to do about guns. But I mean, I still kind of walk around with this like default stance in my head of just like, oh yeah, people that vote Republican love guns, and people that vote Democrat
don't love guns.
Really are in favor of sensible gun control with a capital S. And yeah, it's really not the way things are. And like you said, like early on, like the NRA makes a point, or not the NRA, rather the Democratic Party makes a big show of like this is the undefeatable like monolith of Republicans and the NRA with their powerful lobbying firms. And like, while there's a little truth, there's some truth to that, but like you said, now they're like broke and or effectively in a way broke.
But there's still gun lobbying in Washington.
There is, but it's not this like centralized, like all powerful thing necessarily either. I don't know.
Yeah, so maybe,
I don't know what to do about this shit.
Maybe nothing fucking changes until like lobbying and I don't know, less corporate money in politics would probably help change a lot of stuff. And also, one vote, like everyone like actually having their vote matter and not this fucking weird state vote senator shit.
Yeah, the skewed representation and the electoral college and all of that stuff and all the gerrymandering. Again, the root cause still seems to be legalized bribery.
Yeah.
and like, so even like reforms on voting and all that stuff, like basically, I mean, I said this during the thing about banning the Senate, abolishing the Senate, and it's kind of like an obvious truism, I guess, to a lot of people, these people that are going to listen to us talk, is that, yeah, like the step one of like all this kind of social change that we talk about, I think has to be getting rid of that money. But then the despairing part is that the people that can get rid of, that can make any steps towards that are the people that are benefiting from it the most. So they're not likely to do anything. Nope. And I mean, I guess then the answer to that is that, and this is, this is how like most documentaries about social issues, and what needs to happen is that the average citizen needs to really rise up and band together with fellow citizens and blah, blah, blah.
We need to go to our local pitchfork market and buy our pitchforks and march on Congress.
Oh, Jesus. Like, I was thinking about that the other day. I heard someone talking about, I think it was like Chris Hedges or somebody was saying like it was Hedges on bad faith. Yeah, let's promote them. They need our help.
They should promote us.
He said like about the $15 minimum wage thing just being like shit upon and thrown away. Like, he was just saying like, well, the progressives in Congress should have like organized like a march on the Capitol about that. And like, he didn't mean it in the sense of like the 6th of January, that day that will live in infamy, as Chuck Schumer said. But it just got me thinking like, you know what? I don't think we can ever fucking march on Washington ever again now, because it's just now it's like taboo or something, like to even talk about that.
And now Now
because then you're just going to be like
now any march on Washington is maybe automatically perceived as a terrorist attack.
Yeah, or like liberals, for example, will say, no, we can't. No, marching on Washington's bad. That's what Trump people do. That's a MAGA move. Like we can't be like that.
Oh, God, I hope not.
Now, like, I'm pretty sure like you can't get a fucking permit to assemble in front of the Capitol right now. I should look that up, but I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I hadn't really thought about it until right now.
I mean, that place is on like after the storming of the Capitol. Like,
does it feel more like an airport now?
Well, they brought in like tons of military and like shut down everything around there.
Well, it's scary for them.
I'm saying I think it's like a permanent fixture now, basically. But maybe I have some disinformation in my brain.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Well, I shot my mouth out about Texas gun laws without looking anything up. I'll do it about this too.
So I'm basically done with my talk of the NRA. I do want to say there is an SRA, which is a socialist, the Socialist Rifle Club, which I guess started as a subreddit in 2015. It's sort of like an internet joke and then turned into like a real organization.
That's kind of funny.
But they have like 10,000 members, and their goal is to provide an alternative to the mainstream toxic right-wing and non-inclusive gun culture that has dominated the firearms community for decades. They seek to provide a safe, inclusive, and left-leaning platform for talking about gun rights and self-defense, free from racist and reactionary prejudice, while providing a platform for the working class to obtain the necessary skills, or the skills necessary for all aspects of community defense. And it describes itself as a working class, progressive, anarchist, socialist, communist, eco-warrior, animal liberator, anti-fascist, anti-racist, anti-capitalist, POC, LGBTQ plus group. Give the socialist guns. Let's see what happens.
If anything, it's just a funny way to really befuddle people on the right.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like, yeah.
No, it's fine. I mean,
giving them something unexpected.
There's like, from that Harper's. Sorry.
Essay?
Harper's essay, Good Guys with Guns, that I liked. There was a bit, there was actually a, I don't want to read all that. I put it. There's a bit from not the person who wrote the essay, but he used a Michelle Goldberg quote, who's kind of a squishy liberal type, but she said, I generally find the ideal of adding more guns to our febrile politics frightening and dangerous, but sometimes a small, desperate part of me thinks that if our country is going to be awash in firearms, maybe it behooves the left to learn how to use them. Who the fuck uses the word behooves and febrile?
She's the writer who I read one of her books a long time ago about...
Michelle Goldberg?
About religious fundamental movements, like trying, like explicitly wanting to create a theocracy in America.
Yeah.
And but then I found out that she kind of sucks.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about her.
I know that her husband is the one who created the Elizabeth Warren supporter avatar background, you know, that Liberty green color.
The guy who wrote this essay, James Pogue, who I do like, called her a squishy liberal, so I don't think he's a big fan either, but I think there is something to like this. Maybe, I mean, if we're going to have guns, maybe the left and right should both have guns.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like...
But then, you know, maybe we should just say, if you want to have guns, have guns. If you don't want to have guns, don't have guns. I think.
I mean, I don't think it's an answer to all the problems we've been talking about for the last 2 hours.
Me either. I'd actually be happy with people having guns, but just not having the right to carry them in public whatsoever. Like, that should be illegal. Public gun carrying. Altogether.
Yeah, I mean, I think in most states, like, even concealed carry is, like, kind of pushing it, but I'm just totally guessing right now. But, like, just flat out open carry, I think it
freaks me out so much. Even when I see a fucking cop open and carrying, it freaks me out. Man. I hate it.
every time there are like right wing protests, at least in the last, say, I want to say like 15 years at least, you see people just like wandering around with fucking machine guns.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, people were open carrying at the fucking Capitol thing, and no one was. I can't imagine that's legal. To carry around any sort of firearm when you're that close to
the White House or whatever.
Yeah,
the
right.
Congress building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So, anyways, here we are.
I would just add one thing to the like the armed left idea. Like, I think they're also, in a way, at least some of them, are just as delusional as the armed right when it comes to like why we need guns, because they talk about like, well, we need to like the only way the revolution can succeed is through bloodshed, and it's like, so what does that mean? That means talking about like overthrowing the government essentially. And I'm sorry, but we live in a world where there's not going to be a armed citizens uprising that succeeds in this country ever.
I mean, literally the only way I see overthrowing the U.S. government is the military deciding to overthrow the U.S. government and enact like...
Yeah, which would have to come from like some sort of sleeper agent, like making their way all the way into to the White House, like where you're in the full, like the actual commander of the military.
Yeah, you're like the general.
And even then, I think a lot of the military would like revolt, and I don't know. I mean, I'm just, it's the thing where like, the typical right wing gun nut says like, well, I have a gun, so like we can fight a tyrannical government, and it's like, no, that's absurd. Like, you and your guns are not going to win in a firefight with
drones.
The U.S. Army
with the U.S. drones.
But it sounds like some of the people on the left are just as
some of the
goofy.
Language that they use in this talking about the SRA is some of that too, but they're often being ironic because they started as an internet meme that turned into an actual rifle club. So
I do wonder how serious it is, because there's like, I think I'd brought it before at some point, the Twitter personality, like socialist gun girl or whatever.
Yeah,
and that seems like that. Where that fine line between is this a joke or not, anyway. Time flies when you're talking about stuff.
Yep. So why don't we just like stop, give some recommendations, call it a night?
Yeah, we probably should. I mean, we should.
I think so. I feel like we've discussed the NRA enough.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of wanted to talk more just about the gun culture in general, but we can save that for another day.
There's always another day.
Yeah. I found some kind of funny shit about gun shows, but actually I should gather more on that, and maybe we'll talk about it later. Recommendations. I thought I had one, and now I can't remember.
Yeah, I felt like I had a great one, and I'm also drawing a blank suddenly.
Okay, I got something.
Okay.
I recommend a book called The Orphan Master's Son by Adam Johnson. This book is about North Korea. It's a novel. It's really well researched, and Adam Johnson's just a really good writer, like interesting style, and just great descriptive chops. And it goes into characters being being tortured, and as a way of like getting people to admit to like various crimes and things like that. I read it in like 2012, so I'm not really remembering the plot very well right now, but I'll just say it's an excellent book, and if you have any interest in North Korea, I recommend it. I don't think it's like I think it gives kind of a fair look at the country. It's not just like all like demonizing. And I guess he actually went there for some of the research for the novel, and apparently he kind of got to like go off the beaten path. Like, you know, there's a lot of typical like just tours that they do if you get into North Korea, and he said he got to see some things that like he wasn't really supposed to see, according to like his handlers. But yeah. And I like his other books are really good too. I've read, I think, all of them. But Orphan Master's Son, it won the.
I feel like I've heard of that, but I've not read it.
It won the what is the big fucking book award of every year? He won the 2013 Pulitzer Prize for fiction.
Okay.
And I had this thing when I was like writing reviews and actually reading books more often back then, where I like just reached out to the authors sometimes. And I did it with him, and he like saw that I was living in South Korea and actually kept a little bit of a correspondence going with me, which was kind of cool. He said he liked my review of his book, even though my review was, I don't know, just kind of gimmicky or whatever. But that's my recommendation. Orphan Master's Son by Adam Johnson.
Orphan Master's Son. Man, I just fucking lost my recommendation. So, yeah.
You can't remember it?
I had it, and oh wait. You know, I'm just going to recommend something that I know is incredibly popular. But I thought it was fun. I really like that new Little Nas video. That Little Nas X, the Monterio video. The music video is really fucking cool.
I feel very uncool because I think I've just heard about this in passing, but I have no idea what it is.
I got around to watching it. It's just a great music video. So I recommend that. But I feel like anyone who follows music videos at all has probably already watched it. And so I don't know if it's like a good recommendation, but I liked it.
What's its deal? What's the premise? Or do you want us just to be blind? Go into it blind? Me, at least.
It's
Describe in one word.
It's about Satan blessing little Nas X.
Interesting.
And it's very cool. It's got a very dark sort of bit to it. I don't know. And it kind of relates to his sexuality. So, you know.
The other thing is I don't even really know this this artist. I'm out of the loop.
Well, it's like related to the fact that he's queer, and it's kind of like a fuck, I don't know. It's just good. It's a good music video. Watch it. I think you'd enjoy it.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. I enjoyed it. It's good. That's my recommendation. Also, I just saw that I liked the movie Knives Out last year. I thought it was enjoyable for the most part. I just saw that Netflix is making a Knives Out 2 and 3, and they're.
I just saw that too. Yeah.
Which I'm not as big of a fan of.
It seems a little ridiculous.
It really does.
It'll probably be worth like a one-time watch on the couch someday. Cool.
Anyhow,
I think see, you recommend knowing about Knives Out 2 and 3. Sure.
And this the Monterio video, the little Nas X video, Monterio. I like it. I feel like I had a different thing to recommend earlier, but I just fucking lost it.
I wanted to think of something that was somehow related to guns, but I never got around to it.
Yeah, I meant to too. Yeah, so I'll just leave you. Just watch the greatest gun movie ever made, Equilibrium, and call it good.
Is that like that gun kata shit?
Yeah, it's like fucking gun kata shit.
I never saw it. I've heard that's a bad movie.
It's a fun bad movie.
Okay. Christian Bale, right?
Yeah, it is a bad movie, but it's a fun bad movie. It's enjoyable, I think.
Cool.
Goodbye. Go to heatdeathpod.com and
at
Or
Heat
goodbye.
Death Pod on the Twitter.
tell us the exact second you stopped listening.
Also, tell us if you own a gun or never will own a gun. Or what's the solution to the gun problem? Or should we make it worse? Should we be accelerationists when it comes to mass shootings?
Should we be like Relina Peacecraft in Gundam Wing and try to disarm the world?
The first voice recording was made in 1860. It was a 10-second fragment of the French folk song Au clair de la lune recorded by inventor Edward Leon Scott de Martinville. But who will make the final voice recording and when? What will it be? Who will hear it?